this video, frequent questions about union elections will be answered by H. Sanford Rudnick, a highly respected labor consultant, published author, and advisor for management.
How are you today, Joyce?
Well, I'm okay, Sandy. I just have a few questions about this union problem that we're having at work.
Okay, I'd be very happy to answer your questions.
I get the feeling that the company's afraid of the union.
Oh, that's absolutely false. I think what we're trying to establish is we want to communicate with the employees directly rather than the employees going to an outsider to bring in an adversarial relationship between the employees and management.
What can't management do during the election involving a union?
Generally, management can't threaten the employees, interrogate the employees, they can't make any promises, or they can't create any type of surveillance or spying on the employees. But during the process of the union election, management can certainly tell you the effects of collective bargaining, what union promises mean, the cost of union membership, or the effect of a strike.
Well, what does union promises mean?
Well, according to the National Labor Relations Act, management during the course of a campaign cannot make promises because they can deliver on those promises. If they made any promises to increase wages or benefits, they can certainly deliver on these particular items. However, if the union makes these promises, the employees are smart enough to know that they're only propaganda and they really can't deliver on those particular promises. So if the union did make any promises, whatever it might be, get them in writing.
And how do I decide to vote for or against the union?
What we want to do is go to a notice of the petition by the National Labor Relations Board, and that is this petition. And the National Labor Relations Board, federal law guarantees you have the right to either vote for or against the union. As you can see in this sample ballot right here, you wish to be represented by the union, and if you want to be represented by the union, you vote yes. If you don't want to be represented by the union, put an X in the no. And I think during the process of the election, I think you should really understand 4 principles. And those principles are the Buck's principle. And what I mean by that is B stands for bargaining. What is collective bargaining? The effect of union promises. What do union promises mean? C stands for the cost of union membership. And the last principle is strikes.
Well, that's good because I have questions about those 4 topics. Number 1, and you asked it, what is collective bargaining?
Collective bargaining is where the union and the company gets together. If the union wins the vote by a majority, the union and the company will meet and confer, as stated by the United States Supreme Court. But the United States Supreme Court has stated that neither party can force each other to make a concession. But during the process of collective bargaining, the parties meet over a period of time in a meeting room just like this, for example, and they're exchanging proposals. The company gets its proposals concerning wages and benefits and other working conditions together, and I believe that would be a good proposal for the company. And the union will come forth with their proposals concerning wages and benefits, and over a process of time during the meetings that the parties will hopefully compromise and try to work out an agreement.
Section 8D of the National Labor Relations Act states, the obligation to bargain does not compel either the employer or the union to agree to a proposal or require the making of a concession during negotiations.
Will the company be forced to sign a contract if the union wins the election?
Absolutely not. What the collective bargaining process means is that there's no predictable outcome during negotiations and all wages or benefits are put up to grabs. If the union forces the company into unreasonable demands, certainly the company has the right to tell the union it's going to reject those demands. So the union only has 2 options at that particular time. They can either withdraw the unrealistic proposals or they can try to force our company on a strike to force those demands.
Can the union force the company to increase pay, wages, and benefits?
Absolutely not. Collective bargaining is a 2-way street. If the company is not doing well, the company has the right to ask the union to lower wages and benefits. And this happened at various companies during negotiations, like, for example, the Weyerhaeuser strike representing the timber industry. Then in the steel industry, there was major concessions. As well, and Fleming Foods got a reduction in pay and benefits at Fleming Foods. So there's no predictable outcome in negotiations, and the company will sign an agreement that is beneficial to the company.
Remember these important facts about collective bargaining. First, all your wages, your benefits, and your working conditions are up for grabs during negotiations. Second, negotiations can take weeks, months, or years to complete. During this time, the company generally cannot give increases in wages or benefits. They are generally frozen. Third, the company does not have to give any increases in wages or benefits during negotiations, which it cannot afford. Fourth, neither the company nor the union has to agree to enter into a contract. Finally, at the end of negotiations, it is possible you could lose wages and benefits.
Well, what about a strike? Can't the employees force the company to pay more money in benefits?
During a strike, I think you should remember just a few things. One, for example, if you did go on strike, and you have the right to cross a picket line if you so desire. The National Labor Relations Act states that you have the right to continue working during a strike. But if you decided to strike at the company by walking outside back and forth at the company, what would happen is we would be forced to stop your wages and benefits, and then also you wouldn't get unemployment insurance or even food stamps.
If a union called for a strike, the company can continue to operate?
Yes, we can hire permanent replacements if the company so desires. This has transpired in various companies that permanent replacements were hired during an economic strike, which we certainly wouldn't want to do, but it certainly is a possibility. During a possible strike, the employer, as an option to force the employees to accept his proposal, can perhaps even lock out its employees like what happened the Safeway strike. But it is possible that an employer could permanently replace its employees.
So I could lose my job by going on strike?
What would transpire would be is that if you decided to go out on strike, and if the company did hire permanent replacements, then if you wanted your job back, at some future point we would put you on a preferential hiring list, and we don't really know how long that would take.
Important facts to remember about strikes. First, you can legally cross a picket line and continue to work. Second, you will not be paid company wages or benefits in a strike. Third, you cannot collect unemployment insurance or even food stamps during a strike. Fourth, the union officers continue to receive their big salaries during a strike. Fifth, the company can continue to operate during a strike. Sixth, you can be permanently replaced in an economic strike. And seventh, there is no guarantee that you will be returning to work after the end of a strike.
If the union wins the election, does the bargaining process start immediately?
Generally, it depends what transpires during the election. Sometimes during the election, the company or the union creates an interference of the free atmosphere of the election, and the company or the union can file objections to the election. And sometimes during the course of the objections, that could take 6 months to a year to 2 years to resolve. And the important thing during that period of time is that the employees' wages and benefits have to remain at a level of status quo. So that means during this year and a half, your wages and benefits basically have to remain the same, except what has been done in the past with the company concerning your wages or benefits.
Well, what's the cost of a union membership?
It really depends on the union's bylaws. The cost of union membership is divided into 3 areas. First, the one of dues, and dues could vary between $10 and $25, maybe $30 to $40. This is really dependent upon the union bylaws. The next thing you have to be concerned with is initiation fees, which could vary between maybe $50 to a couple $100, who knows? It just really depended upon the union bylaws. And one third area of concern is sometimes during the course of your union activities, if you violated the union's bylaws, they could possibly fine you for violating the union's bylaws.
Well, what happens if I refuse to pay the dues?
Oh, well, that's a different area. If you refuse to pay the dues during the process of collective bargaining, the union is going to ask for a union security clause. What that basically states is that all employees have to become a member with the union within 30 days. And if they don't become a member of the union within 30 days, the union will ask the company to terminate your position. And that is called a closed shop. But it is also possible the union to have an agency shop, but you don't have to be a member of the union, but you still have to pay your dues. And even if you're not a member of the union, they can still terminate your position, which I think is really unfair.
So can the union provide me with job security?
Well, the only type of job security that any particular company can provide, whether it's a union company or a company that doesn't have a union, is to make sure that the company is profitable and is earning money. And there are many situations, like in the steel industry, the construction industry, that shows that there were even layoffs at the automobile plants when things became slow and profitability started going down. So either with a union contract or without one, job security is dependent upon the stability and the profitability of the company.
Well, can I still vote no against the union if I've already signed my union card?
The National Labor Relations Act states that employees have the right to either vote yes for the union or no. And even if you signed a union card during the secret ballot election, you still have the right to change your mind.
How do we vote in the election?
Well, that's a very interesting process. Once an election date is set by the National Labor Relations Board, the National Labor Relations Board on the election day comes down to the company and sets up a voting booth. And what transpires is that during that time, the NLRB is going to give you a ballot. And you take that ballot and you go into a secret booth, and the curtains are drawn, and then you mark either you want to be represented by the union or you do not wish to be represented by the union. So this is a very simple process. And after all the employees vote in the secret ballot election, then what transpires, the National Labor Relations Board takes all the ballots out of the ballot box and counts them.
In summary, before you vote in the upcoming union election, you should remember the Bucks principle. B stands for bargaining. At the end of bargaining, it is possible you could lose wages and benefits. U stands for union promises. Any union promises of increased wages and/or benefits are absolutely false. C stands for the cost of union membership. The union will charge you money every month to continue your employment at your company. If you do not pay your union dues, the union will demand that the company fire you. S stands for strikes. During an economic strike, you can be permanently replaced. Also, you would not be paid any wages or benefits or receive any unemployment insurance.
For more information and books on similar subject matter, please visit www.rudnick.com.